Okay, so we have Psycho 3's Week 5 Warm-Up 2. We're still talking about types of sentences. We're going to do some review on that today, and we're going to do an activity with that. But let's go over the warm-up first. Let's see who our first victim, our first volunteer is. Is going to be Valerie. So Valerie, number one, read the sentence. Slowly open the door to prevent hitting someone on the outside. What type of sentence is this? Is it interrogatory, exclamatory, imperative, or declarative? You said it was what? Imperative, because it's a command or a request that makes it an imperative sentence. So yes, C is correct. It's imperative. Now remember, class, that imperative sentences can end in either a period or an exclamation point. Good job. Number two is going to be for Sebastian. Sebastian, number two, read the sentence and identify what type of sentence it is. The punctuation is missing. Notice it's missing on this one. Did John just ask for a new book from the librarian? Is it interrogative, exclamatory, imperative, or declarative? Which type is it? Interrogatory? Yes, it's an interrogative or interrogatory sentence because it's a question. You're right. And the third one is going to go to Alexis. Number three, Alexis, what type of sentence makes a statement? Is it interrogative, exclamatory, imperative, or declarative? I don't see a B in the room. I don't see a D in the room. What does D say? Declarative sentence is correct. Declarative sentence is correct. Okay, now I don't know if you have the notes from before, but we did notes a while back on types of sentences. Um, and remember, I pointed out yesterday that around the room are all these sentence strips on the walls, and they are the different types of sentences, the declarative, interrogative, etc. So I do have some notes for you this morning. If you don't already have them in your notes, but I'm pretty sure you probably have lost them. So let's just make sure you have this written down somewhere. I'm going to leave it on the screen for a while too, but there are four major types of sentences. The first one is declarative. A declarative sentence makes a statement and ends with a period. We already know this. An interrogative sentence asks a question and ends with a question mark, and an imperative gives a command, ends with a period. Exclamatory expresses emotion and ends with an exclamation point. Make sure you're writing this in your notes, guys. Okay, now yesterday, the homework I gave you was to first find 5 sentences from any published source, like a book or a newspaper or a magazine, and to list those 5 sentences, and then identify if each sentence has a clause and or a phrase. And I pointed out that every sentence has at least one clause in it. Some have more than one, depending on the type of sentence, if it's compound or complex. And many sentences also have phrases in them. It's important to remember the difference between a clause and a phrase. We covered this yesterday. Remember that a clause is a group of words that has a subject and a verb. It may or may not be a complete thought, but it still has those two things in it. A phrase is a group of words that are linked in some way for some purpose, but they only have one, either a subject or a verb, not both. So hopefully you guys have your homework because you're going to need it in class today. So please raise your hands if you have your homework done. That is awesome. I'm happy to see that. Okay, let me go over with you. Hold on. Okay, now let me go over with you what we're doing in class today with those 5 sentences. So before we do that, though, I need to make sure you all have them out. Hopefully you have them. They're probably on your iPads. Make sure you have those sentences available to be used right now. The first thing you're going to do is individually. You're going to be doing your group assignment, but the first thing you're going to do individually is determine if each sentence is declarative, exclamatory, imperative, or interrogative. That's the first step, to determine which sentence type it is. That's why you need to have this in your notes, and that's why I'm going to put it on the screen in a moment. Determine the type of sentence. That should be the easy part. The next step is as a group, I want you to make a list of sentences. You're going to have 4 sentences with your group. Using what you guys brought in, you're going to have 4 sentences. You're going to have 1 imperative, 1 interrogative, 1 declarative, and 1 exclamatory. So 1 sentence for each of the 4 types as a group. You're going to have a list. So someone needs to keep this list down, recorded. The next thing is, as a group, you're going to determine if each sentence the group has decided upon contains clauses and or phrases. Remember that every sentence has a clause. Many of them also have phrases in them. Okay, so you need to determine if they have clauses or phrases. And the final step is you're going to choose a reporter, and we're going to do an activity in a few minutes after we do this, but you're going to choose a reporter who's going to need to have their 4 sentence types available to report out. Okay, so let me go over the steps with you again. Make sure you know. I need all eyes on the screen, please. The first step is by yourself to determine if each of the 5 sentences that you brought to class today, if it's declarative, exclamatory, imperative, or interrogative. That's the first step. Then as a group, you're going to come up with a list using your 5 sentences. So each group will have anywhere from 10 to 20 sentences to choose from. And you're going to make a list of 4 of them, 1 for each type of sentence. All you need is to have 4, the 4 best or whatever. The third step is, as a group, you're going to decide if they have clauses or phrases in them. They all have at least 1 independent clause. Many of them have independent clauses, dependent clauses, and phrases. And then finally choose a reporter who's going to have those 4 sentences available for the next activity. Any questions? Okay, so I'm going to give you 10 minutes as a group to do the activity. You're going to have 10 minutes to do the activity. Okay, so make sure you're doing it, please. I'm going to put a timer up. You're going to have 10 minutes. Any questions?